This is the voice of freedom. We are not one voice. We are many. We are your voice. But we can only be effective if you use your voice. Your voice. This is the voice of freedom. We will not hide from the truth. We will ask the hard questions until we are sure we have the truth. Welcome to the voice of freedom, where your voice will never be silenced.
Well, hello, folks. How are you? This very fine sort of a day. At least it has been in my part of the world. I don't know what it's been like in yours. Fingers crossed it has been, well, just as nice. That's what I'd be hoping for. I'm going to just have a little bit of a check on what our streams are doing in various different places. So let me just see. Oh, there you go. That one's got noise coming out of it at least. And that one seems relatively clear. So I don't know. We'll see how it all plays out tonight then, shall we? It's going to be an interesting short show, I think, at this stage. G'day, Paul. First one in tonight and salty. Nice to have you guys in. I've had a bit of a day. I haven't been in front of the computer since, I don't know, 5:30 this morning. I've been running around a bit, had to get a few things done for the car as it needed a service rather urgently. And isn't it fun when you go and you find out your service is going to cost you an extra $150? What a pain in the ass, you know? Oh, yeah, we found a few leaves in something and then we thought we'd spray it with something and then, you know, stick that on your bill. But at any rate, it's done and it was just a day, bit of a waste. Well, no, not a waste. Otherwise, if the car buggers up, all sorts of shit happens. So anyway, I'm just having a bit of a bitch. Don't worry about me. So I haven't had a lot of time to read what's going on in the world. I have seen a couple of interesting things that have popped up, but I haven't had a great deal of time to delve into them. Tomorrow will be a little bit different. I'm not sure if there will be a show tomorrow night, only because tomorrow afternoon could turn into a long day. I'm catching up with a few people for lunch tomorrow, and those folks are people you'll be very familiar with. So I think at some point during our lunch, I will take the laptop along and we'll fire up a show and let you pop in and say hi. I think you'll enjoy who we're going to be talking to. So that'll happen sometime after 12 o'clock Queensland time tomorrow. I'd say probably after 1 o'clock Queensland time tomorrow, knowing the way that my schedules seem to move around. So yeah, that'll be a bit of fun, and it'll be from a very interesting location, and a location that many Queenslanders will be familiar with, and maybe quite a few out-of-towners too. So hope to bring you a little bit of Brisbane history tomorrow, which will be fun. We'll also have a little bit of news on something from John Wilson. I did tell you, I think yesterday, John spent the day with me yesterday, or at least half the day with me yesterday. We filmed a couple of things. I'll be cutting those up after I finish the show tonight and giving them to John, and he'll be releasing them at his will over the next couple of days. On Friday, or at least over the weekend, he will be aiming to release something that will be of great and paramount importance to you to read and to have a say on. And it's important that you do get to have a say. You'll be able to find out what we're talking about. I'll play a piece from John. Well, actually, I won't play it. John will probably talk about it tomorrow. So we'll go through that, and you'll get a bit of an idea of what I'm referring to. But trust me, it's a great direction for the freedom movement. Everyone in the freedom movement. It's a way of clarifying. I'll mute the phone. It's a way of clarifying the direction we are going for everyone, so that we are all on a clear path. And that doesn't mean that this path is set in stone. You get to have a say in this path as well. But first of all, we need to have a starting point. So John has come up with that starting point, and we'll bring that to you here on the Voice of Freedom later this week and over the weekend. Sunflower, how are you, darling? Lovely to have you back in the house. I didn't get to say hello to you, I don't think, last night. And JJ's in too. Howdy. Daryl, good to have you. The Galactic Larricans are in the house tonight. And we will be talking further with the Galactic Larricans in coming weeks. You might see them popping up more regularly in a spot. Had a little bit of a chat today with Robert, and we will be working on something, hopefully, that will start up in the next week or two, and the Larrikins will play quite a role in that. So looking forward to having them on board again. The lovely Aussie Sue is in the house. God love you. And who else have I missed? Starseeds. Chris is in the room. Oh, right. Well, now, there you go. Starseeds and Patriots Down Under, Patriots of Down Under, I better get his name right. Chris is going to be on the show Friday night. Friday night Free For All will be a Rumble only show. We are going to talk Tartaria. We are going to talk giants. We're going to show all sorts of interesting pictures and technologies. So that's going to be happening with Chris and Bob, who is no longer a truck driver. But Bob and Chris, I've got to say, Bob's knowledge on Tartaria is outstanding. I mean, really good. So that'll be Friday night for the Friday night Free For All, but it will be a Rumble only show. We will remind you, if you're watching on another platform, I'll put a video up beforehand. But if you know nothing about Tartaria, including how to spell it, then Friday night should be a pretty good show for you to tune in and get a little bit of an idea of what we're talking about. If you like ancient history, yeah, it's going to work. It's going to work very well. Ancient history. It's pretty much what it is. So, folks, there was a big thing in Sydney over the weekend. I mean, it was a really big thing in Sydney over the weekend. So much so, I think, that it made headlines everywhere, all over Australia, for a variety of different reasons. Part or semi-part of those reasons, I believe, are the fact that our Prime Minister was the first Prime Minister to avail himself of the hospitality presented by the Mardi Gras in Sydney over the weekend. Now, as wonderful as that is, to be the first Australian Prime Minister to walk in Mardi Gras, I think Lydia Thorpe, Minister Lydia or Senator Thorpe, made her statement quite clear. In fact, apparently she abused a number of AFP officers who were dancing in the parade, and when they then went and lay down in front of what she assumed to be, or somebody said was the AFP float, but it turned out to be a float belonging to people who help those transitioning from whatever gender they thought their parents thought they were when they were born, to whatever gender they've decided that they want to become. Now, of course, the Mardi Gras attracts people from all over the world, and the last few years it's been a muted celebration. We had the Minogue sisters get up and do the thing on Friday night. I think the big concert in the Domain. I mean, how good is that? They have a concert in the Domain at Christmas, and then they have another one, which, from all accounts, I haven't seen anything of the show at all. Kylie and Danny haven't got together and sung in something like 11 years on stage together. So that should have been a pretty big moment, but it's been pretty badly panned. So I don't know whether the audio was bad or the lip syncing was bad or the auto tune wasn't working in Kylie's case, because I do believe Danny can really sing. I don't know. But at any rate, it was nice to see the girls on stage. Do you believe that Danny Minogue is 51 years old? Kylie's 57 or 56. But, yeah, Danny Minogue, 51 years of age. And she, got to say, they both still look pretty good. And natural or not, who knows? Yeah, look great. And the question would be, why do they look so great? And I see Starseeds mentioned that already in the chat, so I won't bother sharing that with you all. Of course, after the big party on Saturday night, there is always the Walk of Shame Sunday morning, except if there is no shame. Have a look at this. This was walking through Hyde Park, Sydney morning, on Sunday morning, Hyde Park, on the way home. Now, apparently, dressing up like that is something called pup play. I don't know. But I would have thought that there is a decency law, public nudity law, or some kind of law that this pup might be breaking. I don't know. Do you think that that's possible? I think that that's possible. Why has nobody shown us this? Why has nobody told us that such things exist? And why haven't they been out and arrested people who do this sort of shit? I simply do not know. Now, I'm trying to get up a couple of other things here that I'd like to show you. You might remember we were talking about the Ohio disaster and that horrible cloud. I'll show you another picture of it shortly. We've been saying now, please be careful of what you are carrying, if you are carrying chemicals or anything like that, and keep an eye out for suspicious things. Well, this morning there was a suspicious thing. Residents were asked to evacuate after a chemical plant fire in Sydney, of all places. So sadly, the residents were asked to bail out, I think, from nearly a kilometre surrounding.
Something else you just have to see.
I'll pause that. They were evacuated after a significant fire and an explosion. Now, there was 1,700 cubic meters of potentially explosive hydrogen on site, and some of the structure has given way. The fire burnt for some time. The fire burns every day, apparently. It's a stack, a chimney stack, that is what they use to burn off whatever they can't use. And today it got a little bit excited. So one has to imagine that if it caught fire and fell down and collapsed, that some of the shit that went out the chimney may not have been as filtered as, you know, they would like it to be. And what is in there? I mean, wow, that's a significant sort of a mess. So what else other than 1,700 cubic meters of hydrogen was in that chemical plant? What is now in that cloud that is blowing out to sea or up or down the coast or inland, or I don't know where it's going? Maybe nothing to be worried about at all. I'm just saying we should be a little curious maybe about some of the things that are happening in our world at the moment. And just in case you were wondering, that's the cloud I was talking about from last night's show. That's a photo taken from an aircraft, obviously, flying above Ohio on the day that they set the vinyl chloride on fire. Thank you to the person who emailed me or did a comment to correct me on my scientific breakdown of how vinyl chloride gets burnt, turns into something else, floats up into the sky, gets wet, turns into hydrochloric acid. Thank you. Appreciate you setting me straight. I think I do know the process. I just screwed it right up. So, yeah, we don't want that floating around over Sydney or any other capital city or, in fact, anywhere in Australia. We don't want any of that shit. There has been some very interesting news today happening around the world in various different places. I like this one. Florida has warned patients that they could suffer heart attacks from the COVID shot. Now, doctors in Florida are starting to open up and the government are supporting it. Now, that would be DeSantis and his mates down there in Florida, I think, doing that. But the nice part about it is that this kind of thing is also happening in Australia. At the moment, well, a little while ago, there was something called the Cochrane Review that was released, and the Cochrane Review basically said that the gold standard of studies, they assessed 78 high-quality scientific masks and 78 studies of those masks, and found that wearing masks in the community probably makes absolutely no difference when comparing masks to non-mask wearing and preventing the spicy cough. What's more, the review found that even for healthcare workers providing routine care, there was no clear differences between medical or surgical mask versus N95. So no significant or appreciable benefit in anything you wear. Now, the bombshell findings proved controversial. Mask critics seizing on the findings, of course, to slam the government for their response to the pandemic and the control measure placed over our heads, while supporters of those control measures argued that, well, a different conclusion might have been reached if more and better studies had been available. Well, that basically means, well, we'd have come to a different conclusion if we'd have tried to study that. We would have rigged the data. We wouldn't have ever said anything like that. Well, too late. Somebody beat you to it, and they're a reliable organisation. So that's Australia. That's not the rest of the world. That's Australia, the Cochrane study, and it is available for you to go and have a look at any time. Just go in and Google your life away for that one. some sad news. Is it? That would be the next question. Is it really sad? So we all know that people are suffering from medical issues after the jab. We have also some knowledge that TV and movie stars have been involved in a variety of devil worship exercises, and that we were told that anybody who was working within the cabal, particularly in the Hollywood area, if they were to give up all their contacts, they would be allowed to die with a measure of dignity and keep whatever legacy they had. It's interesting that we're having a lot of rock stars and a lot of movie stars falling over and dying with things like brain aneurysm. It's pretty frequent at the moment. So Tom Sizemore was rushed to hospital about 10 days ago. They found him lying face down in his house. You can see what he looks like there. You might remember him from Saving Private Ryan. He was also, I think in a few gangster type movies, played mafioso types. I think he was in Black Hawk Down, but mostly I think people remember him from his time with Saving Private Ryan. Now, doctors have informed the family there's no further hope and have recommended end-of-life decisions. So the family are now deciding end-of-life matters, and a further statement will be issued, Thursday our time by the look of it. So they are going to turn the switch off on this guy. So this isn't quite a eulogy of him, but the family are asking for privacy, and it is a difficult time. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Sizemore rose to fame in the 1990s with a string of supporting roles in successful action and war films, with notable roles in the heist film The Heat and award-winning or nominated turn in the comedy Heart and Souls. Of course, he was in Private Ryan, but personal scandals eclipsed his career in the noughties with substance abuse issues, legal problems, and allegations of on-set sexual abuse. And apparently found face down with an aneurysm. Just saying, it's the kind of story that people like me look for, given the information that we've been given years ago about how our movie stars and our TV stars and our rock stars are going to start disappearing. Not all of them, but quite a lot of them. And they will pass. Now, some will pass easily and well, some not so much. What's that guy's name in Romania? Don't think he's passing anywhere at the moment. I think he's in for a bit of trouble. Sad news if you're a Tom Sizemore fan, but sad on so many scales. So many scales. So I haven't had a look at the comments, so let me just Reservoir Dogs. Thank you, Chris. Yes, of course, that's where I remember him from. Another one gone. Mr. Black, of course. God, Michelle, I am so sorry to hear this. I'm so sorry to hear this, Michelle. I'm struggling with something along these lines too. I don't know if you're struggling, Michelle, in the same fashion that I am. Someone close to us has got medical issues because they either willingly held their arm out for the jab or they were coerced. And that coercion can take many forms. That coercion starts for some people at the bank and the demand for money every month for their mortgage. And if you were not in a position to stave off the bank, many people had to be jabbed to continue their work. That's the coercion. That is the hateful, the horrid truth of what happened. And now these people are waking up. I have one of those people very dear to me in my life. And she's waking up to this. I think she's always been awake and she's always been on our side. But now she understands the coercion. And there are going to be consequences for her. And as what's happening with Michelle's sister, we are hearing daily multiple reports of people who have been free of cancer for 20, 30 years, having blooms come back into their life, big plumes of this shit reappearing in their body at stage 4. All of this being reanimated, if you like, from substances that have been coercively put into us. What do you do for somebody like that? If they're still a believer in that what they did is right, well, I suppose you treat that one way, hopefully with compassion. They believe what they believe. I said today in a Facebook post about trolls in particular, we're getting to a point where it really doesn't matter what you believe. At some point, if you've held your arm out for this, there is every likelihood you're going to get sick. Now, will it kill you? Maybe not. Won't kill everyone. They don't want everyone dead. But it will kill people who have a pre-existing or have had pre-existing problems, particularly in certain areas of the body. And for those who have had no previous problems in areas like the heart, then it will induce problems in those areas. That is proven now. It is open knowledge, admitted by every health agency you care to name. So, I am so sorry if you have somebody in your family or someone dear to you who is suffering through what can be debilitating, very painful conditions, changing their lives forever because of the coercion. I don't know what we can say to help those people other than to be there to help them and to let them know that justice will be served. Whether they're around to see it or not, justice will come to these practitioners of genocide, because that is what we're dealing with, genocide. And as soon as the trolls wake up to themselves and admit it, and of course, some of the trolls, I suspect a great deal of them in this chat, if there are many here tonight, they're paid. They're paid to get into these chat rooms and harangue, stir you up at home, because I don't pay much attention to them, as you can see. In fact, I pay practically no attention to them. They are unimportant distractions. Do not be distracted by the trolls. They are being paid. There is a 4-letter agency in Australia that has a $400 million budget to make sure that people like me can't get out. Now, you must understand, they do not want to crush the freedom movement. That is not their goal. They don't want to crush the freedom movement. Understand that. They want to control it. And that's why we have so many fractures in the freedom movement. Some very, very well-funded fractures in the freedom movement. So have no doubt that our local 4-letter agencies do have money in the game. They've got skin in the game. So be aware of that. Next time you turn up at a protest in the middle of nowhere and some bloke rolls out a $30,000 sound system so that everybody can hear his important words, ask yourself where the money for that came from, because there is no transparency there. It's a very, very big business, and there are a lot of faces playing that game. I will tell you now, on my daughter's life, I'm not playing that game. But I think I've been approached on at least 2 occasions to play with them, and I'm only just starting to put it together. We'll talk about how I put it together at another time, because I need to be careful about what I say and who I accuse. but I'm pretty confident that on at least 2 occasions in the last 2 years, I've been approached and offered to work, and have worked, with people I would now be very suspicious of being paid from that $400 million fund. There may have been others that have been accused of funding certain people within the freedom community. They may have been erroneously charged with that or accused of that, because indications are that certainly the people who could have funded that have not, and there is good evidence to show that. It's not to say they haven't funded other things, but yeah, there is evidence to say that they didn't have much to do with that. So be aware, the freedom movement is not going to be crushed by this government. They want to control it. That way they get the narrative. And you will see that with some of the people in the freedom movement and how they choose to bring their shows to you. What great improvements they have coming up in how they do it. I mean, the behind the paywall funding models, that kind of thing. Keep an eye on all of that. I am 100% transparent, 100%. I have nothing to hide, and I only have information to offer, and hopefully you have information to offer, and together we can combine that information and we gain knowledge together, and from that knowledge we get to move forward, find solutions for us all, a unified solution. That's what we require, something for us. And I think you are going to find that coming up at the end of this week when John Wilson and I have another chat about this document that's been prepared for your perusal and your comment and your amendment, if that's the way you feel. Or if you choose not to support it, then by all means, tell us why. Because what we are putting together is a document for us all, a unified solution for us all. But we do not believe we have all the answers. We may not have covered everything off. And we are not arrogant enough to believe that we've got it all right for everybody. No. This can only be a document put together by us, we the people, a unified solution for us all. So later this week, possibly Saturday, but maybe Friday, Saturday, this document will be available, and I will have John on to talk about it. And hopefully you'll be able to visit the VoF HQ website, and it will be available to download. By all means, print it off, share it around, give it to everybody to consider. And if you have amendments or considerations or something you would like to see added or removed, or if you disagree with any particular piece, then I will arrange with Vince that we'll get an email address set up where you can email your suggestions to us, and I'll make sure that they go directly to the right people. Those suggestions will be put up, of course, and measured against everything that comes in. You'll get a say on what should be amended, what shouldn't be amended, and we will amend the document appropriately. Once that document has been sorted out and the vast majority of the population are in agreement with it, well, that opens up a whole new range of possibilities. But we'll talk about that with John coming up in the next little while. It's going to be a very interesting document, and I can't wait to bring it to you. It's very exciting. It will bring us all together. And if there are people who cannot be a part of it, then that's fine. But we would like to know why. There's no point in saying, it just won't work, because we don't believe that's the case. And that's not a strong argument. You'd have to, give us an argument why it won't work, and or why certain parts of it can't work, or why certain parts of it shouldn't be considered, or why more parts should. It is a document for the people, by the people. I'm not saying it's a constitution. It's not. It's nothing like that. But it is a guide for the freedom movement going forward, something that we can all unite around. And it will give clear direction. And that direction will be that the people have control, not some four-letter agency, not a bunch of guys hiding behind paywalls who have influential sponsors and supporters. It'll just come from grassroots people like you and me. And trust me, I'm very much grassroots. So I haven't had a shave in a week, 2 weeks even. Look, can't even grow a beard. So yeah, very grassroots. And all we want, and as you will see in this document, is the right thing for everyone. Honesty, truth, transparency for everyone. It's not hard. Well, it's hard if you want to hide something, but it's not hard if you don't. I'm not going to inflict anything on anybody that is unjust or whatever. It's going to be a very interesting talk, a very interesting document. And following that, a very interesting conversation with you all, because you all have to be part of it. And I would encourage you, when I upload the document, we'll make a little video and let you know that it's there. And I would encourage you to download it, give it to every member of your family. If you feel the urge, go and get it laminated and hand it around when you're having dinner or tea with your friends. Get comment, get reaction. And if there is pushback, note it. Let us know what that is. What have we missed? Why should something be included? And that can only help formulating a better Australia and maybe further forward. Redneck, when am I coming to Northwest Queensland? Mate, look, I could come tomorrow, except for the fact that I haven't got the fuel money to get there. To be honest, folks, I fucking hate talking about this. Just suffice to say, things are tight, and I can't get there at the moment. You give me a place to be in, a date, a venue, and I will come. I've just got to have the money to get there, the fuel to get there. That's all I need. I'll bring everything else. But at the moment, things have been pretty tight. And I'm not good at asking for donations, and I'm not good at asking for memberships. So I guess I'm partly to blame for that, because I don't push it a great deal. So here we go then. If you'd like to become a member, there are no great benefits other than the fact that you'll be helping us. There will be benefits down the track, but at the moment it's more important to me to set up an information source that you can trust than to give you great benefits to bribe you to be part of it. If you choose, and you are under no obligation, if you choose, you can support us from as little as $1.25 a week. If you choose, you can do more. If you choose not to donate on a regular basis, you can make a donation. You can do it all at vofhq.com. And that is how I get around from place A to place B. There is no other, well, there's the odd voiceover, but only very odd. I only do the jobs that actually pay something that's reasonable, or I do favors for people that I've done work for in the past, and I'm not going to charge anybody $15 to read an ad, because I'm worth a bit more than that. But the market is what the market is. So we do what we do. Eke it out. I'm not trying to, this isn't a sob story. I'm not trying to tell you the bitchiness of the business. I'm not trying to, woe is me. It's just how it is, and it's my choice. I choose not to go and do $15 reads for anybody. I could probably sit here and do that and, get enough money to buy a carton of beer a week out of it. Because ultimately that's about all I'd get a month out of it. Just ridiculous. So I'd prefer to sit here, try and do as much work as I can for you, come around and meet you, set up my place along with Darren Bergwerf, and I should talk about that. Darren hopefully will be joining me a little later on if I can keep the show going in another 35 or so minutes. He's in a national Zoom meeting for my place at the moment. I think it's an administrators meeting or something like that. Look, my place is going great guns. There is some really exciting stuff happening through Victoria, and that will spread through the rest of the country. We're developing a network throughout Victoria at the moment, and I'm starting one up in Queensland and in northern New South Wales. We're trying to link growers together. That's growers of fruit, veggies, and beef, and lamb, and pork, and all that sort of stuff. We're looking at being able to help those producers of fruit and vegetables deliver their crops to us rather than the big supermarkets. We are specifically focusing on organically produced, organically grown, non-GMO, tampered with foods, and we are specifically targeting beef, lamb, and pork that hasn't been through sale yards. Now, that doesn't mean the DPI haven't come on and shot them up with something, but it's early days in that regard, and I know that there are particularly beef producers around the country who are hiding breed stock, for just this reason, so that there will be clean feed, not infected, poisoned feed, genetically poisoned feed. I'm not sure if you are aware or not, but every cow, bull, calf, heifer that goes through a sale yard is going to be jabbed. So it'll stay with them, and their progeny will be inoculated, or whatever, however that works. So it's going to get into the food chain. So it's important that we establish these things. And my place are doing amazing work at doing that. And I think we are about 107 now, my places around Australia, spreading through South Australia. I think there's a couple now in Western Australia. There have been some issues, if I'm honest, in certain areas. These areas seem to have great influence from secret societies and that sort of thing, and there has been some infighting and bullshit that's gone on. I hope that that doesn't continue, and it's pretty easy to spot those people in the system who are not really keen on doing. They want to be something. They want to be a leader. They want to be standing at the top. They want to be a hero, but they're not really doers. They're not doers, and you want doers. And if you can get doers in your my place, then those doers are the people who are going to stand up and be your counselors in the future, because they know what working for the community really is, and they do something about it, like Darren Bergwerf. Now, there are people like him all over the place. Darren's just the guy who's come up with the idea initially, and he's done a brilliant job. Get a my place in your place, and we will come and visit. We will help promote it for you, and we will give you ways and means where you can get other people coming and visiting, bringing money into your town, bringing money into your businesses, sharing stories, sharing life, and really bringing unity through community. That's what my place is all about. Sunflower, thank you so much for your sticker. And Sandy, God love you, woman. Listen. Sandy is a wonderful, 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 wonderful lady who I've had the pleasure of knowing now for a little while. And of all the people who are throwing money at me, you're a wonderful woman, Sandy. Anyway, we're getting a lot of requests to come south, and Queensland particularly. Queenslanders are very keen to get us in town, and Redneck mentioned us out west before. Mate, happy to come. I don't know how far out west you are. I'm going to get a hold of Belinda and see whether or not we can come back to Toowoomba. I might do a show there and then just keep driving. Maybe go to Dalby, maybe go to Roma, go north, come up to Chinchilla, north or south from there. I think north. Charters Towers, that'd be north. Emerald, Barcaldine, Mount Isa. Come back over and come back down through Townsville, Mackay, Rockhampton, and Gympie. Got some lovely, lovely friends in Gympie, and hello to you both. Actually, I've got more friends than two, but hello to you all. So yeah, want to come to Gympie, and I believe John has a show in Gympie or an idea of a group or something he wants to get up to. So might try if we can't and link something together with him and bring him to a show. I'm also considering, I don't know, if you're in Brisbane, I'll put a venue on here somewhere in the eastern suburbs maybe, or wherever I can find a venue. And I'll try and do that maybe in the next week or so. If you want to come along, we'll do a live show from a venue there. I'm never the one who likes to go and put myself into venues. You know, it feels to me like I'm forcing myself on the public, and I definitely don't want to do that. I usually wait until somebody says, "Hey, why don't you come here?" And I say, "Great, you find a venue, I'll come there." And at least then I know that somebody will be there when I turn up. I'm not too worried if nobody is there when I turn up, because as you can see, I can do a show with nobody around just as easy as I can do it with plenty of people around. But I would like to do a bit of a show here in Queensland, and if I can't and don't have the ability to get south at the moment and west into South Australia because of funding, then I do have enough fuel in the car to get me, a few Ks around Brisbane or up to the Sunshine Coast or down to the Gold Coast, or even a little further afield. So I'm happy to do it. Just give me a venue, send me an email, carl@vofhq.com. I can be somewhere next Monday night if you want. I can be somewhere next Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, wherever you want. I can be there. If you can get me a venue, I'll come. That's simple. There has been some things going on in the background, and I'm not prepared to talk about them just yet because I'm working on things in the background, and it's not always apparent what I'm working on. It's not always apparent why I'm talking to people, some of the people that I talk to, or it might be apparent for a certain reason to certain people, but the true reason certainly isn't apparent. We're having one of those situations in the last three or 4 weeks, and there has been a lot of division thrown at the Voice of Freedom. Unfortunately, a lot of it has been very misguided. But we will talk more about that at the appropriate time, because we're still putting the final bits together. And when we do have the final bits together, trust me, you will be the first people to know about it. I just hope that you will see the logic in the madness at that time. That's kind of what I'm hoping. So, yeah. Elizabeth, thank you for your sticker too. I really appreciate it. And anything that anybody considers to donate, thank you so much. You are beyond wonderful, folks. Thanks, Balanced Shares. God, another one. Thank you so much. And Barbara, thank you for yours as well. I'm just going to have a bit of a scan down through here to see if there's some questions. Yeah. So, Mick, I'm not sure if you're answering a question for somebody in the chat there about what My Place is all about. Community groups formed in local areas, like-minded freedom warriors. Yes. It's not just freedom, folks. It's community building. So it doesn't really matter whether you're jabbed or not. If you are jab curious or jab hesitant or resistant, you're just going to be around people who care and who want to build community and build unity through community. And it's going to have a huge effect on your community. I can't urge you enough to get into My Place. Try and find a venue that isn't your house. All right. That's important. You don't want to have, I don't think, a venue at your house, unless you've got acreage and you've got an outbuilding maybe that you can turn into something like that, and you can put a toilet block on or dig a hole or whatever it needs to be done. Failing that, you really need to look at something like a warehouse facility or a big shed, somewhere that can be used, not unlike men's sheds, that sort of an arrangement. I'm not even sure if there wouldn't be funding available for something like that. So that's the model that seems to be working pretty well, and you don't need to go into it straight away. There are my places that are being held in different venues right across the country at the moment, from pubs and clubs to people's homes, and everything in between, as you'll obviously see with Darren and what's going on in Frankston and Yarra Valley. And now I see that there is Melton, Northern Melbourne or Northern Melbourne suburbs or something like that. There's been a flurry of them open up in the last couple of weeks. And I believe tonight's big chat has got nearly 100 people on the Zoom. So that'll be Darren pretty much telling everyone what's expected, because you can't build unity and community if you're all playing from a different hymn book. So not saying for a second that Darren's dictating all of this, but he has a great team behind him, and they've got a plan, and better still, they have a process. And if you follow the process, you're going to have a very successful My Place. What else? Who else is in there? Hello, Melissa. Didn't see you in earlier. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, the water. People have asked me about my water videos. Just been a bit slack, haven't cut them up, just been busy doing other stuff. Yes, I will put them up, but the upshot of that water testing that I did, and I'm no scientist, and I haven't been able to find anybody yet with a microscope and the associated other bits and pieces to see what happens under magnification with these things, but I think we can all see pretty much. Have I got one handy? I don't think I've got one handy. But yeah, I can show you that everything that's come out of your tap water is pretty much magnetic, and that's a problem. How do you get it out of your tap water? Well, you run it through a filter. You would think, but my test has shown that even filtered tap water still has this horrible black shit in it. The only way that currently is available to stop any of that getting into you is reverse osmosis in your filter. Now, I believe reverse osmosis filtering systems are available. They are quite expensive, $2,500+ and they use electricity, which electrocutes the water, breaks the molecules down, and releases that whatever it is, that nano-sized piece of shit that they've put inside the water molecule. Nano encapsulation technology, read up about it. It is insidious. It is involved in the jab. It's the way that they can secrete something deadly inside something innocent and have you not know anything about it. And they've been doing it to us for years. You see, and I think we'll probably wind up touching on this with Chris on Friday night. Our lives have been dramatically shortened. Our lifespan should be 120 years or thereabouts. We now have documentation and evidence, historical unearthed evidence to indicate that this was the case at some point in our history. But at some point in our history, the cabal started working their magic. And they have been working that magic for a very, very, very long time. And of course, have been able to change us into what we are today. I think it's going to, there is some really interesting news coming out of America and Canada and Switzerland. Mainstream media news sources, from all accounts, I've seen one report, but apparently there are others, have released news that Trudeau in Canada Fauci in America, and 4 now senior, including the Prime Minister or whatever there is in Switzerland, have been arrested on crimes against humanity grounds. There is more coming. Fauci meant to be part of that as well. So that's a good bit of news. The other really cool thing that's going to be coming out of American television next week is going to be Tucker Carlson. A lot of trolls will roll their eyes and go, yeah. Well, look, Tucker Carlson was granted access to 41,000 hours of closed-circuit television from the Capitol on January 6th, 2022. That is 41,000 hours of multiple closed-circuit, high-definition camera images of the invasion of the Capitol building on January the 6th. And apparently, they are finding some amazing things, some very nefarious things, and will be able to prove with great clarity that the Democrats were significantly involved in the planning and execution of what happened on January the 6th. Expect to see all that break next week. Now, what's that going to do for the Biden administration? Well, one could say probably nothing, because Joe Biden, not knowing what day of the week it is, not being able to walk up or downstairs, doesn't seem to have persuaded anybody in power over there that they need to get rid of him in any way, shape or form. But then who would they put in? I don't think they have any of that. Camilla isn't going to be allowed to become, and I don't think she wants it, president, because there is some serious problems about her nationality. The next one down would be McCarthy, and McCarthy is the one that gave access, the Speaker of the House gave access to Tucker Carlson. I think if that were to happen, he would simply call a vote and Donald Trump would run, and McCarthy may well run as well, but I don't think there'd be much chance. Trump had won, and I think he would win. That's where I think that's going. Andrew Smith, yep. Based farmers are going to help us all. I agree. We need to get farmers who believe like we do and who will protect their animals. And I know farmers love their animals. They're like family to them. Once those farmers are sure, those growers are sure that what the DPI and others want to do is a dangerous and poisonous thing, not just for the animals, but for the food chain, our entire food chain, then I think we'll see a lot more action, and it will be action that the authorities won't like. But look, the last place I'd be going on to would be a farm, and trying to tell a farmer what to do with his cattle, particularly if you're just out of university and somebody gave you a job at the DPI. I'd be very careful. Time to start eating roux, says Mick. Yep. Well, if you cook it slow, it's not too bad. I've had a bit of roux in the day. I've actually eaten, yes, I've had the coat of arms. I've had kangaroo and emu. I had crocodile once a long time ago. At least that's what they told me it was. But I think I was in New South Wales when I had it, where they would have got a crocodile from. Don't know. Might have just been a bit of hairy barramundi or something. Gippsland, yeah, I'd love to come down to Gippsland. Used to know some folks down in Gippsland. Well, Michelle, find me a room, find me a place, and send me an email, carl@vofhq.com, and we'll put you on the list. There is the plan initially was to go into Victoria one way, go across the top and down into South Australia, do the shows in South Australia, and then come back through the bottom of Victoria, if you like, from Mount Gambier, back through my old stomping ground in the Western Districts, back into Melbourne, go to my place in Frankston, maybe the Yarra Valley, and potentially another one or two, and then head out through Gippsland, because there are some folks in the, southwest corner, I guess, of New South Wales that are keen for us to turn up and have a bit of a show in their neck of the woods too. So, Gippsland would be on that route. So, Michelle, email me. Let's see what we can do and try and get it together, because I'm very keen to come back to Victoria. I get a lot of email lot of wonderful people saying lovely things, which is great. But I also get a lot of email from folks in Victoria telling me what they've been through and what they are going through. I've also been receiving email in the last week or so from people in the Northern Rivers, as the anniversary today being the anniversary of the Northern River floods that took so many lives. I heard a news report today that there were 20 lives. I think they missed a zero. I've been led to believe that there were over 200 people died collectively in those floods. There are still 600 people living in pod accommodation, 200 families who are living very rough in other accommodation. The biggest problem seems to be that the state and or federal government are not providing the funding required to get these people's homes either repaired or get them bought out and for a reasonable price. None of this is happening in any kind of a reasonable time frame. We're a year down the track, and I heard a New South Wales government minister today exclaim that there are people from the bushfires 4 years ago who still haven't received the funding that they were promised. Now, this is not a go at that wonderful lady Celeste, who raised $42 million and then was made almost impossible for her to control where it was donated to because of bureaucracy. Well, we know most of that money, I think, probably went to the bureaucracy. I don't think it's been handed out in the right areas to the right people. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people who are still in the bushfire-affected areas of New South Wales doing it tough, you wouldn't think. Although $42 million, it's not much, wouldn't go far, would it? Probably buy everybody a roof, but at any rate, just some of the bullshit that's going on. Maria, thank you very much for your sticker. I appreciate it. And Ellen, for yours as well. I really can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart. Appreciate it. Just seeing if you've got any questions down here. George is in the house. G'day, George. Cloudscape, unblock you on None2K. All right. I don't know how, but I'll go and have a look after the show and see what I can do. Hello, Maria. Missed you earlier too. Shari, thank you so much for your sticker. Now, I'm wondering if that's the Shari I'm thinking it is. If that's the case, I'd probably owe you a phone call. Samantha is talking about the crap in Queensland. Yeah, no, our Premier very definitely isn't on our side. I don't think he's ever been on our side, and not likely to be. I don't think there's anybody in the Queensland government that is on our side. The Queensland government, for those who aren't aware, doesn't have an upper house. So they are pretty much a law unto themselves and can do whatever they like. Once you are in power, you can do whatever you like. And pretty much that's exactly what these bastards are doing, as we have seen over the last few years. Is there a My Place on the Gold Coast? Yes, I believe there is a My Place on the Gold Coast. I can't tell you the exact location of it yet, and I'm not sure if Steve Wisby is in the chat tonight or if he's even involved with it. Darren did tell me that there was a Gold Coast one. If it wasn't started a couple of weeks ago, it should be by now. And he was actually coming up to appear. I was going to come down and do a show there, but haven't heard any more at the moment. So, that's what's going on with the Gold Coast. If you're on the Gold Coast, you can get a venue and you want me to come down, happy to come down. The way to get a venue I've found is to look for a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday night, venues that are open to do meals those nights, but usually don't do a large meal trade. So if we can get 100 people that want to come along to a show and they all want to have a beer and a meal beforehand, then that makes it pretty easy for the pub or the club or whatever to give you their function room for the night. There's not much cleaning up. They don't have to open up a bar, just stack the chairs away at the end of the night pretty much. And we can do that if that's what they want. Get the room for free, and it doesn't cost anybody anything that way. So it's got to be a win-win for everybody here. There's no point in going into a pub or a club and saying, give us your room for nothing. we want to be able to give them a return, whether that's across the bar in beers and other drinks, or sitting down for a meal. If they're going to be good enough to help support the Voice of Freedom in that way, then we should be good enough to buy a meal and whatnot before the show. So that would be my way of viewing it. Up to you how you suck your own eggs. I don't want to tell you stuff. Oh, Cloncurry. God, yes. I would love to come to Cloncurry. The last time I was in Cloncurry was, about 1990 or maybe 1991. The Variety Club Heart to Heart Bash went through Cloncurry. We stayed there. Stayed the night there. Stayed in the Cloncurry pub from memory, and I was learning how to fly at the time. And there was a Cessna 172 that was flying around above us as an official spotting vehicle, if you like, for wayward bashers. And I had a very interesting call up. The two guys that owned the aircraft and were flying had been in the bar for some hours and were both over 0.05. It was decided that the aircraft had to be refueled because it needed to go somewhere very early in the morning or whatever. So as I was the only one who had any flight experience, I was commandeered to drive out and under direction, move the aircraft around and refill it, do all that stuff. So I've been to the Cloncurry Airport too. That was about 2:00 in the morning. I was the only sober one driving a plane. Didn't fly it, just driving it to the appropriate refilling spot. But there you go. Love to come to Cloncurry. So maybe we can go to the Cloncurry pub. The idea being I'd try and string these shows together so I don't have to drive 500 kilometres and then try and do a show the next day or that night. We try and string it together so that it's either short, a couple of hundred. I mean, I'm happy to drive 1,000 Ks, but it's difficult to do a show after that. So let's try and string it together. And that way I know distances are fairly vast in outback and Western Queensland. So, $500 is not $500. 500 kilometres is not a big ask to go travelling, certainly not for me for the day. So happy to travel wherever, whenever, as far as I said earlier, just got to have the fuel money to do it. That's all it's about. Okay, having a bit of a glance for questions. Yeah, I think it all. Yes, Sunflower, I do too. I mean, we are all being tested in different ways. Everybody suffers in a different way. Those folks who are, wealthy and have no financial problems may have other issues. They will have other issues. Nobody has a perfect life. Everybody has issues. So, yes, we have to believe, and I believe wholeheartedly with my heart and my belief in God, and that God is on our side. We have one with God. Things are going to get better. But what do they say? It's always darkest before the dawn. So as long as we recognize that, we know there is going to be a dawn. Fight on. Fight on. Fight on till dawn. That's what we've got to do. But we do it smart, and we do it unified. We have to be together. We cannot do this if we are not unified. All the people, or at least the vast majority, need to be on board. And that's, in fact, what we hope this document that I was talking to you earlier about, that John has predominantly put together, that's what this will do. But when I say John has predominantly put it together, well, he has. But it's really you that has put this together. It's a culmination of everything you've told us that you want Australia to be. So fabulous. Elsa, God love you. You're a wonderful lady. Thank you so much. And thank you and your husband for your support. That's wonderful of you. You hold a stand in the park at Yakla. Well, Carleen, I can pop over to a stand in the park. I owe Wynnum a stand in the park. In fact, I owe him two, I think. I turned up at the wrong park one day, and I don't think I turned up at all the next one we arranged. So, yes, I can pop around and turn up at a stand in the park if that's what's required. Just let me know. Carl at vofhq.com. Stand in the parks are a bit more difficult if they're not around Brisbane or the Gold Coast or somewhere like that. We, of course, did one with John up at the Sunshine Coast a couple of weekends ago. And hello to all the Unite and White crew. Fabulous folks they are on the sunny coast. Oh, and speaking of the sunny coast, if you live in Nambour, listen very closely. Jody, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Please, Jody, please stop driving your daughter mad listening and watching to my videos. Please. I mean, don't stop watching them. Just maybe put a set of headphones on. Jody is the mother of the best friend of a girl that I would probably term my other daughter. And Jody apparently is quite a fan. So, Jody, thank you. Thanks for following the Voice of Freedom. Thanks for obviously the supportive things that you are saying, because I'm hearing them coming back through Tyler and Caitlin. So thank you very much. And I just wanted to send you that little shout out, because I know apparently you listen to every show. So thank you so much, and really appreciate your support for doing so. Keep up the good work. I suppose I have one question for you, Jody. Do you remember when I used to work at the Nambour RSL and drove the courtesy bus? Because I remember picking you and your husband up and dropping you home after you'd been to the RSL on numerous occasions. But I don't know, maybe you never put the two together, but there you go. That's me. I didn't walk around with my last name out, and nobody really knew what I did there. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if you didn't put two and two together, but there you go. That's a little surprise for you if you didn't know it. Kanga, thank you very much for your donation. Really appreciate it. And it will, it'll do quite well in the fuel stakes at the moment. I had to put some fuel in this morning, and I got diesel for $1.95.5. I nearly fell out of the friggin' car. Haven't seen it under $2. Well, under $2 in a bloody long time. But yeah, $1.95. Whew. And there was unleaded, 91 unleaded today. Not far from, same servo that I go to get the diesel, actually, for $1.74. So I don't know what the fuel prices are like in your part of the world. I did see not too far away from there $2.24 for the same fuel. Yeah, not real flash at all. Maria, thank you for your sticker. I appreciate it. And I hope that you see out the week tremendously well, and you're not suffering any weather issues. I have heard that we are in for some fairly hot temperatures in the coming, 6 weeks or so. Isn't that always the way, folks? Isn't that when we expect our bushfires to start? Just saying. Just saying. Here we are, the Iterra ones. Melissa. Now, folks, yes, my great friend Len, who I haven't spoken to in a while. Sorry, Len, I'm going to have to ring you. Len was the first person that I knew to get an Iterra wand. I've had one go on the Iterra, or two goes on the Iterra wand, and bloody brilliant. Worked really well on my very, very, very sore foot. Now, I know there have been some people who say they've had little or to no effect. Maybe that is the case. I don't know. I didn't go in with any preconceived idea of being good, bad, indifferent. Would it work? Wouldn't it work? Was it hocus pocus or not? All I know is I did as prescribed for 10 minutes on my foot, and the pain gone. Within an hour, the pain was gone and has not returned. Just saying. Weird. Really good. Really good. Camillo, another good friend in Nambour, has got one or two of those, I think, and he's now doing treatments on friends. Camillo, I'm sorry I missed you today, but we will talk in the next day or so. And yes, if I do pop around, I will let you take to me with the Iterra wand, gleefully, gratefully. I tell you what, I have been doing a little bit of research on, and I plan on doing a lot more, is destructive resonant frequencies. If you're not aware of what a destructive resonant frequency is, you will be aware of the old thing: if you can sing high C long enough, high enough, you will crack or break a crystal glass. That's very true. That's a frequency response. Now, that is called a destructive frequency, when that frequency destroys something around it. Now, those frequencies operate from crystal glass all the way down to bridges. You might remember the Tacoma Narrows Bridge incident. I think it was back in the 60s. They built a suspension bridge that traversed a narrows over a river. There was always a fairly steady wind blowing down that or blowing across the bridge. And that started a small vibration in the foundations of the bridge. And by the end of it, the bridge was rocking left and right and eventually broke itself apart and tore apart. Now, that was a destructive frequency, another resonant frequency. Now, some of the latest video that I've seen on this is advancements in targeting cancer cells with destructive resonant frequencies. How did they find the particular resonant frequency to destroy cancer cells? By going through frequencies from 100 hertz, one at a time, and then watching the results on the blood for 5 minutes to see whether or not there were, in fact, any effects on the blood. And by going through, and it took them something like 5.5 years to get through the frequencies and testing them, they have discovered that it is highly possible to target cancer cells using destructive resonant frequencies. And they have proof. I've seen the video today, and I will bring it to you, where these cells self-destruct. They are obliterated, destroyed completely, and ejected from the body using destructive resonant frequencies. I think that we will discover upon further investigation that these resonant frequencies, destructive or otherwise, are going to form a great deal of the technology behind medbeds and frequency healing. So keep an eye out and do some research if you're up for it. I know the trolls won't be. They'll just poo-poo the whole idea. But it is a clearly definable science, destructive resonant frequencies. And if you can target, it's a matter of finding the harmonic, and they're calling it the 11th harmonic. If you can find something that is 11 times, they've discovered you need 2 frequency waves, a lower and a upper. And the upper frequency wave has to be 11 times the power of the lower frequency wave. And those frequencies now run from 100,000 to 300,000 hertz. And there, in that range, 100 to 300,000, they can destroy every cancer cell known to man. We just probably don't have the equipment to target the cells inside the body yet. But I would say that that's where the beds come in. That would be my little guess to it. Camillo, you've got a microscope. Mate, can we take pictures with it? How about that? If I lean over the microscope, you could do my back with your iTerra wand at the same time. I can swear at the microscope and you can swear at my back. It'd work well. I think it could work for us, mate. I think that could work really well. Okay, so scrolling down, Samantha's right there. It is really, really bad. You've got to have faith that God is here with us no matter what. Yep, it really is a battle of good versus evil. I choose to believe in the good Lord, a creator. And I get great solace out of that fact. I guess John's taught me about the armor of God. And I believe it. I believe it very strongly. In fact, I believe it so strongly that it has saved me on at least one occasion from an attack from, what others would describe a witch. I have no opinion on that one way or the other, but certainly it did make a very big difference once employed. Learn about the armor of God and how to employ it, folks. We're going to need it. Apparently 500,000 tons a year, China water in Queensland. Hang on a minute. 500,000 tons a year, China water in Queensland. This will go back to our little water chat earlier. All right, Melissa, I'm intrigued. I'd like to learn more about that. Email me, will you? Tell me more about that, or what you can explain about that for me. Hans, what have you missed? Everything so far. That's okay. You can always watch it back. Anything happening with Western Queensland? I think a lot of shit's happening in Western Queensland. Me visiting there would be fun, and look forward to doing it. I don't have a bull bar on the car. Should I get a bull bar on the car? How much is a bull bar? And I should actually get the dash cam video, because the only kangaroo issues I've had are in bloody Canberra. 3 times. I mean, I'm petrified to drive in Canberra at night now. It doesn't matter what street you're on. You could be driving around Parliament House and get hit by a bloody kangaroo. They come at you. You don't hit them. They hit you. They run at you. I think they're trained. ASIO probably did it. Blame them for everything, don't we? Okay, let me have a bit of a look. White hats are in charge. Yeah. Shouldn't our water be pure now? Well, we have an awful lot of water, and our dams and all that sort of stuff. How do they purify that? The spraying that people are referring to, and I think people are holding Ricardo out to dry, because he suggested that the white hats were spraying. Now, and spraying to cure whatever the black hats had been spraying. I think we might have been a bit confused about what was being sprayed and why. The black hats, it is alleged, have been spraying metals into our atmosphere. Yes, we've known that. Aluminiums, bariums, and all sorts of things. We've seen the evidence of the tendrils of these chemtrails reaching out, leaching out, and spreading across our skies. Not a contrail doing that, a chemtrail. As the story goes, the black hats were trying to shield us from the effects of bursts of radiation coming out of the sun directed at the earth. Now, if you've been listening to the spiritual people on the side of this argument, or if you've been listening to those folks who are talking to extraterrestrials and getting knowledge of what's going on from that particular sphere, you would be aware that the sun has been emitting huge eruptions of radiation and whatnot in the general direction of Earth for, well, ever. But recently it has picked up, and it's been a different kind of, I guess, stuff being expelled from the sun. This is meant to bring around more of an awakening, making us more awake, more open to the great creator's great idea and great creation, opening our eyes to the deception around us. Now, the black hats were spraying, trying to create some sort of a reflective barrier to stop as much of that energy getting into us as possible. Not so much spraying stuff to poison us, but to put up some kind of reflective shield. The white hats have been spraying something to break that down. So let me show you a picture. I received this picture from a lovely lady named Margie the other day. I think it was yesterday morning. Might have been this morning. Have a look at that. Now, she swears to me that her car window was clean when she went to bed. Came out in the morning and had to use the windscreen wipers, and that residue was on the glass. Now, Margie lives in Noosa, and that was yesterday. When I went out this morning, and I left very early this morning, the first thing I did was flick on my windscreen wipers, because there was blotchiness all over my windscreen. And I hadn't thought about it until I hit the bloody windscreen wipers and thought, shouldn't have done that. But at any rate, I had exactly the same view on my window this morning on my windscreen. What is that milky substance on our windscreens? And it seems to be coming at us overnight. Are you seeing this on your windscreens, folks, in the mornings wherever you are? Maybe not every morning, maybe not every day, but, is there some correlation? And I'm talking now to a couple of guys on the Gold Coast who like watching planes. Is there any correlation to some of the aircraft you're tracking and this kind of result over areas like Noosa and the Sunshine Coast, and in fact Brisbane? Be interested to learn about that. So I don't know. Take it for what you will, folks, but there is something not right falling from our skies, whether that's a reflective substance that's being weighted down with something and now it's falling as rain or dew or I don't know what, or if it's, I don't know, a really horny bat. Who knows? Weird shit. And maybe we should scrape some of that off and get it analysed. That might be the way to do it. Having a bit of a look here to see if there are any more questions. Yeah, Trump's got a big speech coming up 3rd of March. March is a big month for Donald Trump for a variety of reasons. We won't be... no, I won't say that. I'm just going to say, watch that speech. It's going to be interesting. TC could be controlled opposition. He could hide really bad stuff. I guess anybody can be controlled opposition. I guess anybody could be. I don't know how I prove to you that I'm not. I guess because I don't prepare anything. You hear me speak as I make it up as I go along. It's not a plan. I'm not trying to direct you somewhere. I'm certainly not trying to sell you anything. What I am trying to do is give you what little knowledge I get from my sources. And obviously you give me what you get, and I get those emails every day, and I'm very appreciative of them. You, in most cases, are my researchers, my eyes, my ears. You make me aware of things I need to be aware of. Even while I'm down rabbit holes that I know you need to be aware of. But we need to present those rabbit holes in a way that you will understand them clearly. They will not, well, they probably will initially terrify you, or certainly upset you. But that isn't the goal. And I do not want to present something to you that would leave you in fear. We will always try and give you the good news about it, or a way of combating it, or making sure you don't ever have to confront it. And that's a bit of what's going on at the moment in the background too. So be aware that all is not necessarily as it seems. But when it comes to controlled influences, you people are the only ones that control me. I am at your beck and call. Yeah, Ray. Yeah, Ray did have a look at that. Yes. In fact, I might see if I can't find that and bring a bit of that up, because it was worth looking at. Yep, royalty. Well, yeah, we're thinking that royalty will come to a grinding halt. And look at the stories on a daily basis coming out about Charles and Harry and what's her name? The thing he married? God, isn't that awful? I've forgotten her name. Meghan. The stories of her execution started surfacing about 2 weeks ago. I don't know if you're aware of those. There are certain places you can go on and read the trial transcripts and see that, well, you don't see the sentence being carried out, but you do get the idea that it certainly was carried out. Good picture tonight. Thanks, Pete. Yep. Yeah, I think we've, for the time being anyway, I think we've sorted out most of the connection problems that we're going to have. I am having this computer gone through by a specialist to make sure there isn't anything on it that shouldn't be. And that'll happen tomorrow. But outside of that, I think being internet connection agile, I think, is the key. And we'll leave it at that. Oh, yeah, Jimmy Carter. Yep. Jimmy Carter went into home palliative care a couple of weeks ago. They didn't expect him to live long. But, yeah, holding off the announcement. They're hoping Biden might fall off the perch too. Yeah, well, aren't we all? Right, so Samantha, farmers who aren't jaded by the $1 a litre problem. I'm unaware of the $1 a litre problem, or is that because I'm pretty confident that farmers don't get paid $1 a litre for the milk. My uncle, Mum's brother, used to be a dairy farmer, and I spent, as a young boy, a lot of time in the dairy milking cows, a lot of time picking spuds too. The price, I did know this a little while ago. I want to say the price was less than 80 cents a litre, and dramatically less if you were selling it to Coles or Woolworths or one of those sort of supermarket brands. I believe the Mullaney Dairy in Queensland, might have this confused, but I believe they pay quite well, although they have a lot of their own herd. And there is another, I want to say, ostensibly Queensland-based milk company, but I think they're national. Norco, is it? They are locally owned and produced. But outside of that, I think all the other milk is foreign-owned. Wouldn't trust any of it. I'd prefer just to go to your local dairy farmer and see if you can't buy a jug of it straight out of the cow. Bloody magnificent stuff. I used to love that for breakfast. Best kind of milk, straight out of the cow. Still warm. Yum. Thank you, John. That's very nice of you. Very nice of you to say that. I appreciate your sentiments. Yes. So I see we've got a few of the trolls in tonight. Can't be bothered. Thanks, Veronique. Yes, I certainly will be coming east, Gippy. Oh, well, now we're heading in the right direction. Well, just email me, Carl@VoFHQ. I need to start putting a map together and finding out where people are and drawing a line between the two. And yeah, we'll put some fuel in the car and we'll come. I haven't really been further than Traralgon. I reckon it'd be as deep into Gippsland as I've been from the Melbourne side of things. I vaguely recall. Oh no, I didn't. I didn't drive out through Cairn River. Is it? Is it Cairn River or Bow River, or I don't know. There's something down there on the Victorian-New South Wales border. But yeah, would certainly like to get down and have a bit of a look there. Deer is great meat. Yes, I believe deer is fantastic. I've enjoyed venison on many an occasion. And once again, another viable meat source. So we just want to make sure that they are kept free and clear of any of this heinous poison the government is demanding to be allowed to put into them. Absolutely unbelievable. Having a bit of a glance down here. Thank you, Ellen, for your sticker. Yeah, lots of money has been bailed and sent to the Ukraine, of course. Thanks, Michelle. I hope you have fun. I hope you have luck finding your Apple password. I hope it works out. Yeah, I'm hearing that too. So New Zealand, huge losses in the North Island. We're hearing stories of 10 foot of mud going through properties, people's properties, bodies floating down rivers and being washed out to sea. The last official death toll I heard, I think, was around 500. The suggestion that we're hearing coming out of there is it could be 10 or 20 times that, or maybe not 20 times, but 10 times that. The biggest problem will be that there is no food bowl anymore. There are 5 major bridges around the island that allow interconnection of different parts. particularly in the food bowl areas. 4 of those bridges are 100% gone. The other one is destroyed to a point where it needs to be replaced. So there won't be a lot of food able to get out of there in the near future, not just because the roads are buggered, but because all the topsoil is now however many miles down the road. The floods have been absolutely devastating from all accounts in New Zealand. Entire sewerage works have been washed away and now scattered through towns and rural areas. And I mean, the sewerage is scattered through towns and rural areas. There is sickness. Gangs are running everything. There aren't enough police to police what's going on. Gangs are going into supermarkets, loading up trolleys, 20 of them at a time, and just walking out with whatever they want. It's lawless in many places in the North Island at the moment, and there seems to be very little the New Zealand government is doing about it. We are not getting much by way of video or audio, any sort of real great communications out of that part of the world, because it's all been knocked out. While there is, I believe, limited cell coverage or mobile phone coverage available in certain areas, in the vast majority of cases, there is no internet, there is no phone coverage. There are no phone lines left in many places anymore. So getting information out is proving very difficult. I have seen some photos, and the story attached with the photos is quite amazing, if true. People are taking their old cameras out, their old 35mm cameras, taking photos and processing those photos themselves if they've got, photo processing equipment and the solutions, I guess, to do that. And a lot of people do have that stuff still tucked away in a shed at home somewhere. They may not use it and haven't used it for years because digital cameras have made our life so easy. But if you do have those sorts of facilities, then this has proved to be a boon for getting information out of certain parts of the North Island of New Zealand at the moment. So what they're doing is taking their photos, they're taking them home, they're developing those photos, and then they're going to rivers, streams, creeks, whatever, that they can't cross, that they have no real way of crossing unless it's by boat, and they are by boat taking these photos across to people on the other side, who are then driving them further south to where they can be reached by the internet, digitized and sent out. Also heard that they're putting them message in a bottle style, rolling these photos up, shoving them into a bottle, capping that bottle, throwing it out and having people downstream on the other side to get it as it goes across. All sorts of ingenious methods being used to try and get some sort of information out about what's going on. And at the moment, all we know is that it's lawless. Gangs have taken over and the police are overwhelmed. Not that the police were ever much use in the first place, because God knows they've been against the people for a couple of years or more over there now. And what a surprise, the one responsible for it all resigned and left on February the 7th. Left for where? I think we probably know that. There's Starseed being really nice. All chicken nuggets have human remains in them globally. I'm still getting over the fucking Tim Tams, all right? Cochineal bugs in our Tim Tams. What is a cochineal bug? Wow. That is what a cochineal bug looks like after they've ground it up. How very attractive. I don't know, folks. A cochinella bug is not something I've ever really felt the urge or desire to eat. But it gives us red dye, and apparently it's something that they've been putting in Tim Tams for a while. The cochineal bug. Just lovely. There was a couple of other things I was going to touch on today. You remember the Evergreen, that big boat that went sideways in the Suez Canal and screwed up the world's shipping for however long it did, costing him billions of dollars a day. Here's what they found. 1,200 kids rescued, 1,350 dead children found. 30 years of climate change weapons seized, worth about $40 billion. 6 stories of weapons of mass destruction, guns, bombs, missiles found. 2 million vials of fake deadly vaccines found. A nuclear warhead that was heading to Romania, and the ship was rigged with explosives. Does that explain why it stayed the way it did in the Suez Canal for so long, and then why it sat, once they let it pass through, it sat in that lake for months and months, and then made its way to Florida? So there you go. That's what they found on the Evergreen. The next interesting thing that has been thrown out in America in the last 36 hours or so is this. Turns out Epstein, and I don't know if you can read that or not, but it ostensibly says that Epstein has also provided information to the FBI as agreed upon. It goes on to state the case agent should be not looking to hold any more of his assets. They were looking to take assets back off him. The date on this document is 2008. This indicates that Jeffrey Epstein had been providing information to the FBI since 2008. I wonder what information that was. I wonder to whom in the FBI he was providing it. I wonder whether or not he's still alive. I really suspect he is. Salty, looks like you're getting pissed when I come through South Oz then. Well, I don't know. If that's the way you feel you've got to greet me, then I guess each to their own. I wouldn't mind having a beer with you, but I'm not going to sit there and get a hangover. Absolutely terrifies me. Don't do hangovers anymore. So each to their own. Cabal's trying to get people out in the country. Yes, they certainly are. Out of the country, dead, or moved into interesting little places, camps that will grow into smart cities, folks. Got one of those real close. Don't blame all government because they can't say anything here. Personal reasons. I'm not a government person. Working for them. What's happening? Yeah. Samantha, I think we can blame all government. We just can't blame all the people in the government. Good folks like yourself have been working, believing that you're doing the right thing. You've been doing what you're told, believing that what you're being told to do is the right thing for all people. And that's what they want us to believe. Unfortunately, they're punch drunk, they're power drunk. They are kings of their own fiefdoms, particularly local councils. And while they believe they're a king of their own fiefdom, they are ultimately controlled from a UN-funded body that funds local councils across the world and influences them. So, yes, not everybody in government is evil, but at certainly some point there are lines that have been crossed, and we can't forgive them for that. Any updates on Bosie? I believe working very hard at the moment trying to attract votes for the upper house of New South Wales election coming up on the 25th of March. Interesting too, Dave Graham has been putting in his bits and pieces. I think it's all submitted, or at least very ready to be submitted now. No, the police did not return, as far as I know yet, any of his electoral stuff that he had. Flyers and associated other bits and pieces, and I'm unaware of them returning any of his electrical equipment just yet. I don't think Dave really expects them to give it back before the election. I think they'll make as many mistakes, maybe, as they have in the past. Oh, Cooker Watchers in the show. I'll just leave it at that. Scott, I really want to believe it will, but I know through family experience with DVA, and I know through personal experience with other members or former members of the Defence Forces, how bigger bastards the DVA bureaucrats are. I believe that if we can clean out the bureaucratic assholes running DVA, yes, there will be significant change. The public servants that control DVA, I have no words for the evil that you perpetrate on the most vulnerable in our community. You are the lowest of the low. You guard every penny like it's yours, and you shatter lives with the stroke of a pen. I've seen you do it to many people. I've seen you do it to our seniors, our World War II veterans, our Korean War veterans, our Vietnam War veterans, our Iraq War veterans, and now our Afghanistan War veterans. You've done it to our East Timor veterans. You've done it to the people who went to Malaya. You have done it to every person who has suffered a physical injury due to the work and the style of work you trained them badly to do. You regularly crush new recruits physically and mentally. And your highest official officer school in the country has been involved in numerous bastardization cases that have been partly exposed to the public. DVA, you are scum of the earth. Thankfully, you get it right sometimes. After being pressured, after being fought, after being kicked, after putting more mental anguish on those you are meant to be helping. Can't wait till we're rid of you. And yes, then I think the Royal Commission into Veteran Suicide might make a difference, because the only way, the only answer to that Royal Commission is DVA. DVA bureaucrats. And therefore, the only outcome out of that is that no one, not one of them will get punished, because they're bureaucrats. Stroke of a pen will punish you, but it doesn't go back that way. Well, it's going to. Trust me. It's going to. Ain't that the truth, Joe? Ain't that the truth? Yes, Samantha, to all of the above. Absolutely, yes. Email me, carl@vofhq.com. I met Rubes down the Gold Coast the other day, last weekend. G'day, Rubes and crew. Lovely, lovely man. John Wilson and I went for a drive down to the Gold Coast and caught up with Rubes and co. And yeah, really nice guy. Had a great afternoon and look forward to doing a little bit more with Rubes in the not too distant future. Melissa's got the right idea. She's staying away from the chicken nuggets and sticking with the good old fruit and veg and meat. Go for the meat too. Absolutely. There you go. There's somebody's opinion. Yep, self-harm pokes. They're coming out in foods. Thanks, Crunch. Yeah. Look, I've got to be honest. I take notice of Macca's now when I drive past, not because I'm hungry, but yeah, just to see how many people are still in there. And even on weekends, their business is going down. I'm sure that franchisee owners aren't going to come out and tell us what their figures are. But, I mean, if you're a woke McDonald's, or no, hang on. If you're an awake McDonald's franchisor or franchisee, and you, with, maintaining your anonymity, if you would like, you might have to tell me who you are, but I won't tell the world who you are or where you are. But I would be very interested to learn whether or not the profits of McDonald's are up, down, or, pretty much level pegging. Clearly, you would have had some issues over the COVID period. Not being open was probably a big one. But how is all that looking now? Yeah, be really interested to know whether or not there are any. Well, in fact, I can't imagine there's going to be any awake COVID franchisees. So maybe we'll just leave it at that question. Is there an awake McDonald's franchisee who'd like to come on and have a chat and tell us about how it's all working? Don't think that's going to happen. Yes, Chris, that is a marvelous word. Not a lot of people really know what it means, but yeah. Samantha, you've been very vocal tonight. Thank you for your input into the chat tonight. Everything has to change. Darren's 100% right. Otherwise, well, we the people are going to be crushed. We have to win this war. And we can't just believe that somebody else is going to win it for us, folks. I don't believe it can work by somebody else winning it for us. Yes, we're going to require military intervention, but we have to stand up. We have to get educated. We have to learn what they've done to us and how. We have to convince as many people of that as possible. And I'm sure with disclosure, hopefully sooner rather than later, that will be made a lot easier on us. We'll be answering questions rather than trying to force pills down people's throats. And that's something important for us all. All right, folks, I think I'm going to love you and leave you. How long have I been going? Shit, nearly 2 hours tonight. I'm just scrolling down to see whether or not there's any further questions. As I saw that Cook is in the house, I might just put this up. I thought that was pretty nice. That turned up yesterday in one of the emails I got from somebody yesterday. So, yeah. I really like the way the Kookaburra deals with shit, vermin, and snakes. Don't you? Really love the way Kookaburras deal with snakes. Not that I have a thing against snakes. I quite like snakes. But I do like the way cookers deal with them. Just saying. Yes. At least somebody's in here praying tonight. Thank you, God. Well, there you go, Jazz. Glad you could join us live. I've just been talking too long. That's probably the reason you got here tonight. Diesel's almost $2 a litre in Tassie. It hurts filling up your John Deere. Oh, mate, yeah. Yeah, well, I can tell you I've paid the most I've paid for diesel is $2.47 a litre. And that was in New South Wales on the trip before last, I think, when we headed down to Canberra. And today is the least I've paid in 6 months, I would say at least. And today I paid $1.95.5 for diesel. And at the servo I was at, which was a Metro, and it looks like BP is selling off a few of their locations to Metro. The Metro was $1.74.5 for 91 octane unleaded. So let's hope it's a sign of the times. Chris is talking about the walls of Jericho. That might be something we'll discover again on Friday night. If you have only just joined us, I did mention Friday night show. Chris from Star Seeds and Patriots of Down Under and Bob, the truck driver, well, former truck driver, will be joining us. We are going to do a Rumble-only show, and that show is going to be based around Tartaria. Tartaria and giants. It's going to be good. We might talk about the Great Wall of Jericho. We might, not the Great Wall of Jericho, we might talk about the Great Wall of China. Wouldn't it be interesting if somebody else had built the Great Wall of China and it was built to keep the Chinese in? world history, folks. There are many things we haven't been told. Many things. Thank you to the folks who emailed today, who were quite surprised about the vision that I played last night of the electromagnetic levitation available in the late 40s, 50s before they stole that technology and hid it away. Apparently, it's a little more wide known than I'd thought, because a lot of people have confirmed that. And actually, one person in particular feels sure they can find some more vision of that for me. And they may also find some vision of train systems that were employed. And these are quite radical train systems that travelled at very rapid rates in great comfort. And they travelled above the ground. Weird shit, folks. Stuff that has been hidden from us. And where? I'm going to say a lot of it's in the sea, in the oceans, under the oceans. A lot of it. So keep your eye out, folks. There's a lot of that coming our way. Camillo, you are a legend. I am bringing everything to your place, and we shall do this. I will bring my findings from the water, because really that's what I'm keen on finding. I still have some water specimens, or wet specimens, I think is probably the best way of describing what we're doing, because when this shit in our water dries out, it clumps together. That's the only reason you can see it. It is nano technology, therefore very, very small. So in a drop of water, we will be able to see, hopefully, if Camillo's microscope is up to the job, we will be able to see exactly what it looks like in its natural environment. And we will bring you those pictures because we're going to connect the laptop to it. Awesome stuff, Camillo. You are a man of many, many talents and skills. And 2 iTerra ones, 1 in each hand, I'm told. No, I won't say that either. Yeah, and Hamilton is fast asleep. I know. My daughter has family in Hamilton, and I've got friends still in Hamilton. And, yeah, very sadly, I find it quite surprising that if you were to draw a line from Ballarat, north and south, everybody left of that line is much less awake for whatever reason. I'm talking now places like Warrnambool, Hamilton, Horsham, Edenhope, Warwick Nabil, not big towns, Nil, Dimboola. Hello to everybody in Rapanyup. I don't know that I've got anybody watching in Rapanyup, but I used to live in Rapanyup many years ago as a little boy. Sananad, Donald, Witchyproof, Chinkapuk Manangatang. Why are these people not awake? These are farming people. These are big crop farmers. These are normally really good critical thinkers. Why is it? It just seems to me, just from the reaction I get from around the country, the dead spots to me are parts of Sydney, areas of Sydney, and anywhere west of Ballarat in Victoria. Why is that? I know that there is a lot of interest in South Australia, but same kind of deal. I'm getting messaging from people in South Australia that they're nervous to come out and support the likes of what we are pushing, our reality, if you like, the truth, because of the threats that their government has levelled against them, both in business and personally. In fact, as you saw Bruce last night in last night's show, I'm not sure if he said in the show or it was during our little chat before we went on air, but he was paid a visit by a couple of police in the dead of night, warning him to stop asking the questions and demanding answers of the South Australian, I think it was the Attorney General. And the response was, stop this or you will not like the consequences. This is a significant indicator of why Bruce may have been targeted in Canberra. And I certainly do believe he was targeted in the description and in fact, the dash cam video shows that the road worker that leapt out in front of him and slammed his hands down on the bonnet of the car hard enough to dent the car while the car was only travelling at walking pace is probably a CI or a federal police officer. They would have had the number plate of the vehicle. They would have been looking for that. They would have been waiting for him, just by fluke maybe, to turn up at the airport. They may have had infiltrators in at Camp Epic where he was, in and around the group he was, that learned what his plan was to go to the airport, along with a number of other people, and they set up for it. But I have it on very reliable and very forceful instruction that if you are a traffic or roadside worker, traffic controller, roadside worker, you are schooled, taught, reinforced, hammered into never to jump in front of a vehicle, regardless how fast it is going. Almost a sackable offence. Probably would be if you're a traffic control person. A sackable offence to jump into traffic to try and stop vehicles. That indicates to me that that bloke was a CI, and he never turned up to court as a witness. What a surprise. So this is the way they're working towards us, folks. They will try and entrap us all one way or another. So we do need to be careful about what we say, how we say, and who we say things about, I guess. And then, of course, you've got the plants like the twat scratchers, who are 100% controlled, I suspect very well paid, and very well connected into mainstream media. There is a very interesting recording apparently getting around, but nobody has sent it to me yet. If you have access to the recording that I'm about to tell you about, please send it to me as fast as possible. I am led to believe that there is a video going around pertaining to be one of the regular trolls advising a certain television and radio network how to antagonize and gain crazy reactions from the cookers. I'm told that the audio of this conversation was recorded and that people who had access to it didn't believe that what was being said should be allowed to go unanswered, or just believed. It didn't sound like it was a truly believable story, and it didn't sound like a normal interaction with somebody who might be doing this kind of thing. It sounded very controlled. Now, these are quotes from people who claim to have heard this audio. If you have a copy of that audio, please send it to me, carl@vofhq.com, because that, my friends, is going to be some explosive audio. It will be a very interesting voice on the end of that. In fact, I think there'll be 3 very interesting voices. At least 2, possibly 3 very interesting voices. If this audio actually exists, it might be a freedom fantasy. So keep your eyes out, folks. You'll know it when you hear it. A familiar name will pop out. So if you have access to that, please send it to me, carl@vofhq.com. And if you don't have access, but you know people who might, or who are very good at seeking these sorts of things out, please put them to work. If it exists, I want a copy of it, please. Urgently. And I'm pretty confident there might be a few others who'd want it too. So, interesting things. A lot plays out in the background, folks. A lot of stuff that goes on that we don't talk about. Sure, we could talk about it, but why telegraph the punches? And in our case, they're not really punches. All we are doing is finding out information, factual information, right? And then linking the facts versus what others are saying together, and let you make the decision. I'm not telling you what to think, feel, or believe, all right? I will never tell you what to think, feel, or believe. I will simply put up my opinion. I will share with you how I analyzed whatever data I had and why I came to that opinion. And from there, you're on your own. You make your own choices and your own decisions. And that, too, goes for when we talk about things like the quantum financial system and Bitcoin and all that shit I don't understand, all right? I'm doing what I've done with QSI and Bitcoin because I know nothing about it. I don't know what's good, bad, or indifferent. And I suspect there are a lot of you that are the same way. How do I know what's good, what's bad? Well, I've got to have a look at what's on offer first, and then from people I trust and experts, gain knowledge, gain understanding, and from the understanding, gain knowledge. And sometimes that knowledge leads you in places that are unexpected. So we will be sharing more on that in coming days and weeks. But I urge you folks, always be careful. Anything we talk about when it comes to financial systems or quantum financial systems is opinion. I don't give financial advice. You know that. I am the last person you want to take financial advice from. But if I have some information that you find useful, by all means take it. That's why I sit here and talk for 2 hours now. So maybe I've got a bit of information tonight that you haven't heard. It adds to what you've got. Maybe you've got a bit of information that you'd like to share with me, carl@vofhq.com, and I'd love to hear it. Really love to hear it. Coming up a little later this week, Tartaria, Friday, for the Friday Free for Ball, will be a Rumble-only show. I will have John on again. We will have a little bit of a chat about the document that we'll be releasing towards the end of the week or over the weekend. And I think you're really going to enjoy reading that, and I'm looking forward immensely to your thoughts on it. We want your thoughts, your opinions. We want to know what should be changed, what should be added, what should be taken out. All of that. And it's important that as many people as possible see this document and have input to it. It is ultra important. If you don't agree with anything in the document, that's fine. Tell us why. Because clearly, if there is something glaringly awry, we've missed it for some reason. That's not on. So you are, in a sense, going to check what we've done, but you're also going to add to it. And that's what the document is designed to be, a starting point for the freedom movement. Let's get rid of the division, folks. Let's get together. Let's unite. Let's find the ultimate solution for us. Nobody else is going to find it for us. Nobody. Only us. So I'm really looking forward to your reactions to that document. And as I say, Friday or over the weekend at the very last, it will be out over the weekend. So see, somebody says I'm crazy again. I must just happen to scroll at the cookers occasionally or stop scrolling when they've popped up. Nobody cares what you think, folks. We all know you're controlled. I'm surprised you bother coming back, and to my regulars who come into the chat, I wouldn't even bother interacting with them. They're not worth it. They're just trying to sow division and distract you away from whatever I might be talking about. And in fact, this was pointed out to me today by somebody, that's exactly what happens. They'll come in and watch the show live, but they'll get caught up in the bullshit going on in the chat from the trolls. So they actually miss what happens in the show and then wind up watching it back again without the troll interaction, I guess, at their leisure later on. If that's how you choose to do it, then that's great, because I know, potting trolls is fun. It really is. But you must also understand that these trolls are controlled. It doesn't matter if you had the best, most persuasive argument ever created. They are not going to let you know that you are right. Sue. Carl picked spuds from Gatton right down to Thorpedale many years ago. No, I did not. I've never picked spuds in Gatton. The only place I have ever picked spuds is in Koroit in Victoria. The only place. Right at the bottom of Tower Hill, at the base of Tower Hill. So that's the only place I've ever picked spuds. But I've picked a lot of them, a bloody lot of them. I was not a gun picker. I mean, geez, back in those days, I was young, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There were blokes who were picking 300 bags of spuds a day back in those days. I was happy if I could pick 30. 300. It's like shearing sheep. Gun shearers, gun pickers, and they were worth every cent you paid them back in the fields. I remember my uncle used to talk about the gun pickers, and you'd always try and get the guns, or at least a couple of guns in your paddock, and the guns knew who the guns were, and they'd go to the guys who paid the best money. So, yeah, great days. Gatton is a great place. Black Sheep wants to get out of Tassie and go to Gatton. Gatton is a beautiful little town. There's a lot of beautiful places out there in the Lockyer Valley. A lot of beautiful fruit and veg going out that way, or veg particularly. And Grantham. Yes, well, Grantham, of course, was one of the scenes of horror and devastation during the floods of 2011, and now being rebuilt with just about everything on stilts out there these days, I'd imagine. Yeah, that's also a very good question, MKD. We will have to actually find out the truth of that answer in weeks ahead too, because truth in labelling, you'd have to wonder sometimes, wouldn't you? What else is, just seeing if there's anything else in here question-wise for me before I let you go. Although, I was going to say some of you have probably given up, but there's still at least, well, it's hard to know exactly how many are watching because I can't check every feed. But thank you to everybody who is tonight. Thank you for sharing your time with me. I know your time is important, so I'm honoured that you would choose to spend a bit of that time with me. Yes, Mick, you're 100% right. The Whiteheads did do the Evergreen. I would believe that 100%. Oh, no! I've just scrolled past a comment. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, the Evergreen did belong to the Clintons. In fact, Evergrande and Evergreen are all part of that. I missed it. I think somebody else had a crunched up thing in our food that we shouldn't be eating. Tip, but I may have just scrolled past, and there are so many in here. Coach Neil lessons to make rainbow cakes in the 50s. You know, I used to love a rainbow cake. And look, I don't so much doubt that it was used for colouring. I just don't like the idea of eating bugs, or the fact that they don't tell us they're putting crushed up bugs in there. Cochineal is just one kind of bug, and they just happen to be in Tim Tams. What's red in friggin' Tim Tams? What do you need red colouring for in a Tim Tam? So there are other kinds of bugs. Crickets are being crushed up for flour and put into natural flowers. Yeah, they're crushing up all sorts of bugs. Now, look, protein, I guess, comes in any form. People like to get it on a spoon, get it out of a big, tin and eat it that way. I would probably prefer to have my protein on a spoon out of a big tub that didn't have bugs in it, if that's how it came. But I suspect those protein powders are full of crushed up bugs as well. You could probably tell, given my magnificent physique, I don't have a lot of those protein powders around me. But next time I'm wandering around somewhere where I can where I can see those powders, I might just take a photo of the ingredient list. Yeah, thank you, Paul. Yeah, Black Sheep is telling you guys to do something that see, another thing I should be saying. My channels are suppressed, shadow banned beyond belief. So if you could hit the like button, folks, let's see if we can't break the algorithm up a bit and break some of this shadow banning down. hit the like button. It's not so much for me, but it does screw up the algorithm. And hopefully it will allow people to get the message a little bit broader, a little bit wider. So please like and share. I'm nearly at the end of the list here. US veterans carry a huge guilt and shame. Yes, they do. And look at the way that US veterans are treated. Absolutely abhorrent the way the US government treats their veterans. I think that's going to change as well. It has to change in the future. And I'm hopeful that a base model derived from what Australia does for the veterans once they fight their way into the system, which is in more cases a much harder battle than they ever had to fight when they were at friggin' war, things will change. I think that's the best thing I can say about that going forward. And it's only us, the people, that can change it, folks. Don't expect the bastards in government to do it. They won't. That's why places like my place that lead to local councils, that lead to new local, state and federal representation for the people is so important. And the only way you're going to get to meet those people is to create something like my place and make it work. Get the doers, not the wannabes. Get the doers doing shit in your community, folks. And your my place will go ahead. All right, I've talked for ages, and I think I'm just about at the end of it. Crunchy right there too. Right now, China are in a position where they could hurt Australia tremendously. If the Chinese Communist Party were in control, I'm right now not completely sure that is the case. Time will tell. The Chinese have hidden things from us for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Hiding who's actually in control of the country would be something very easy for them. All I would say to you is look at Taiwan. Don't want to speak in circles, but can't go talking about too many things. McDonald's annual gross profits 2022 was $13.2 billion, says Peter. A 4.98% increase from 2021. Well, that'll be McDonald's corporate, won't it? That won't be the franchisees. Or maybe it is. I'd be interested to know the breakdown on that, Peter. But the franchisees will know whether or not their drive-thrus and stores are filling up. I notice new playground facilities going into a lot of McDonald's, or have gone into a lot of McDonald's, particularly on the highways. They've already had playground facilities in them. Maybe it's just time for a new one, but it just seems to be interesting that they're building bigger and better ways to attract kids in. Yes, we saw the video of Third Ra doing their training a couple of nights ago, and people protection training. That's what they're calling it, people protection. So let's not get too excited about that just yet. Don't think that they're the ones that are going to come pushing the people back. They might be pushing the people back who want to hurt the people. Did you get that? I know it gets a bit weird. Right, let's wrap this up. Thanks, Aussie Sue. I love you too. Have yourself a bloody great night. And on Sue's farewell, I think I'm going to say good night too, folks. I have kept you longer than I normally would like. So thank you once again for being gracious enough to come and share some time with me. Really appreciate it. And if you do want to help us, then by all means, please go along to vofhq.com. There is a donate button there. And if you choose to donate a few bucks, then thank you. God bless you. If you choose to become a member, you can do so from as little as $1.25 a week, and up to various other membership stages. We will eventually get around to doing something special for the members, but right now it's important that everybody gets all the information. And I'm not going to lock any of that behind a paywall or anything behind a membership wall, meaning that only members are going to hear or see certain things. I refuse to do that. I don't care whether you give me nothing or you give me $1 or $100 or $1,000. It doesn't matter to me. You are all entitled to the information. You all deserve the information. You have a right to that information, and I will not hide that information from you. Be safe on the roads, folks. I saw a few dickheads out there today.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's ride!